I'm black. She was like, no, no, no. Are you from America? And I said, I'll be damned. That's the first time that I had been acknowledged or even saw myself as American and black. Because in America, you're black. Not American, you're black. But outside of America, to other people, you're just a American. Mm-hmm. And that statement took me by such surprise. And I know she was thinking, is something wrong with you? But it was not anything wrong with me. It's just how we grow up here in America. We grow up here in America as black.
Yes. And you know, Dina, the book Cast, and I haven't even finished reading it because it's such a heavy read. But the book Cast is dynamic. And one of the things they talked about is even how races were differentiated at Ellis Island. Everybody who looked white was considered as white. You weren't considered Jewish, Italian, or whatever on paper. Yes, by ethnicity, yes, by, socialization. But on paper, you were either white or black. And no black people came in through Ellis Island. So everybody who came in through Ellis Island was considered white. And that whole thing, of how you are, like I said, even growing up in the military towns and military bases, there's still some differentiation that you feel. And even though that was my senior year in high school with that physical altercation I got into, there was some tones. You still hung together in certain clusters, but then that depends on the classes you took and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know what overwhelmed me that day, but it was a sense of anger, of him calling me the N-word twice that just came blatantly, and the rest of the class laughed. They laughed. And I think God from heaven reached down and gave me some ability to beat the brakes off that boy. I was definitely shorter than he was, definitely smaller than he was, but just something came out. And I think it was the realization of they don't care. And that turned, when you say you're around all this patriotism in military, life, but I'm not. I'm a North Carolina scholar too, but when you said that about for the first time feeling, oh, I'm an American, that I always wondered why I wasn't considered just an American.
Welcome to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, where we get VIP access into the lives of Black women, or as we like to call us here, our Sister Nistas. We get to hear from some of our favorite Sister Nistas as they share their worlds with us and create connections, exchange realities, ideas, and baby, we get to recognize and celebrate how powerful we really are. Our sisterhood here is real, filled with peace, wisdom, hope, love, light, and laughter. The kind you can feel, the kind of encouragement that confirms we can do anything because we have, and the kind of inspiration that proves we can be even greater. This is our world, where if you ain't a Black woman, you may want to be one, or definitely get to know one. It's a Black women's world, and we welcome our Sister Nista lovers too. Welcome to our queendom. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and I'm your host, Tracymac. Come on in and relax and sit with me for just a little while. Peace.
Well, hello, everybody. I am Tracymac, your self-discovery companion and your professional peacemaker and host of Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, baby. I am here with my two dynamic co-hosts, Dina Hamilton and Javon Cookie Jones. How are you feeling today, Dina?
I'm hanging in there. What about you, Javon?
I'm good. How you doing?
Well, she asked why, we got to keep asking each other. You know what? I'm glad you asked her and I asked her, because as Black women, it's good that we check in on each other. And because of the climate that we are living in, we are Black and we are women every day, unapologetically. I know we celebrate Black History Month. I say it all the time, but we Black 365, 24/7. We celebrate Women's History Month. We are women 365, 24/7, unapologetically. And I have to say it with such force because there's so many forces outside of our world that try to keep us from being proud of that even want to stifle our ability to even to be proud of it, to say it out loud. I was criticized recently about even the podcast, the name being Too Black and Two Women. Tracy, do you think that's too strong? And that was even by Black women who feel like diversity and seclusion means that we need to be more inclusive. And I agree with including people, but I do not agree with lessening who I am as a woman. I walk in a room, I'm Black and woman. That's undeniable, and proud of both. But I think that even with the climate we're living in, with the shootings, we just had the one with Daunte Wright, the George Floyd trial is still going on. And as Black women, it sucks for us to have to put up with this. I almost said a bad word that would have had me jacked up, but it just sucks. How do y'all feel? Are y'all I don't know, maybe I'm just I just don't have any more damns to give about certain things. But how do y'all feel about that altogether?
It's hard. It's really hard having two Black sons. Being a Black woman, again, we talk all the time about the weight of the world that we carry on our shoulders. Then having two young Black sons, having to equip them daily, running through certain rules and procedures on a daily basis to equip them for the world, not knowing what they're going to run into on a daily basis. It's tough. It's really hard.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just had the girls this morning. They were like, "Oh, she'll never let us do that." And I was like, "What are y'all talking about?" And they said, "Mom, we want to walk to the corner store." And I said, I thought it odd because they don't even like to walk around the neighborhood, but now they want to walk to the corner store. But then I got to thinking about it. It is a sense of, independence. They could just run down to the store at their leisure, come back at their leisure. And honestly, I was going to the corner store probably when I was about 5. And then I got to thinking, it's when I was going to the corner store, I was leaving my neighborhood. I was going to our corner store. It was all, I didn't grow up in segregation, but we were segregated. And when I got to the store, the people were going to know me. They were going to know my parents, my grandparents, and they were going to take care of me. I knew that I didn't have too much to worry about, and I was going to get what I went there to get, and I was going to make it home, no doubt, in my mind or even my parents' mind, safely. Mm-hmm. But now, it turned to a rite of passage to, I'm not sure if that's the corner store that I really want you to go. Or when you get there, are they going to see you there to patronize their business, or are they going to just be watching you from the time you walk in the door until the time you walk out? So that, because of what's going on in the world, has my whole mind shifted from just a small rite of passage for the girls, just to walk to the store and to come back. It's not that I don't trust them to walk to the store and come back. It's now I got to worry about what's going to happen when you get to the store. Who's going to be there? Right. Is it going to be, are they going to treat you the way that I would like for them to treat? A lot of things now I'm having to think about that I don't think our parents thought twice about.
Yeah, I mean, and I was sharing with the two of you, even some of the things that I have done for leisure, I'm not enjoying them anymore. I've always loved to go to the beach, especially at night. And people say, you go to the beach at night? Well, I have a skin condition called PLE. And PLE is basically allergies to the sun. Sunblock doesn't help it. Sunscreen doesn't help it. And I break out in blisters. And so I have to stay covered when I go to the beach for the most part. So I've always enjoyed the beach in the evening or early in the morning when the sun isn't so bright. And living about 2 hours away from my favorite beach of all time, it's even been, that's a privilege for me. That's my relaxation. That's my happy place. But going to the beach adds another layer of caution. What time I go, if I'm there by myself, because I used to go by myself. I can't do that anymore. So now I've got to adjust my schedule to other people's schedule to go with me, where I park, what I have with me, what I look like. Do I have on all black? Now the mask, when I first get out of the car, and even watching television. A pastime that many of us, use to escape. You get off of the day, Netflix and chill, But even that is because there's the news. And I never wanted Black Women's World Podcast to be another hot topics show, because you get enough of that. Wanted this to be a place where you can come and be unapologetically Black and hear about the lives of Black women. As I say, and get to know us, or you might want to be us, But even watching television, because if it's not the news, then it may be a show I used to enjoy that now I'm looking at and say, where are the Black people? Where are the Black people on this show? Black people like to do that too. Or where are the Black people in this particular movie? And so the absence of us made me rise up to verbally stand up and inject the presence of us. And if I couldn't do it in places that didn't want me there, at least I could create a place of my own and bring other Black women in with me who were unapologetic in how we were born. And if that means other people feel threatened, so be it. But maintaining a safe place for us, and not being able to enjoy some of the luxuries and some of the pastimes as normal, because whether it be COVID or the racial climate in the United States or even around the world, nothing is as normal, and nothing I don't think will ever be. But what do you all think about the normalcies of life that being Black? I mean, you can't raise your hands, and you can't put them down. You can't put them out the window. You can't reach in the glove box. You can't drive. You can't sit in your own house. Yeah, you can't do nothing. How do you think we can overcome the especially in America right now, the pressure of, hey, here we go again, being Black? How do we exist in your space? How are you all getting along?
Again, I say it's hard. I was, you all know I go to the range on a regular, and just being in the range, knowing what's going on in our world, and I'm the only Black woman in the range shooting for fun, not trying to attack or harm anybody, just working on my targets. I'm noticing as it gets quiet when I start shooting, I'm like, why is everybody not shooting? All eyes begin to be on me. I look around, everybody in there is not like me. I'm the only Black woman in there, only Black person in the range at this particular time. That feeling, it's fear trying to creep in, but I ain't scared, so it's like that fear is trying to just come in and just overtake you. And I'm like, why am I wanting to leave this place right now? Then all of a sudden, new rules come into play at the range. Oh no, you can't shoot at this space. You have to put it out, your target's out a little bit further. You can't do this, you can't do that. Hey, where'd you get your ammo? Well, why are you worried about my ammo? Y'all got all the ammo you could think of and been getting it for years. So why are you worried about my little box of ammo? So many things play, and aggression, well, I can't say aggressions, but it's straight up madness on my end. I'm like, oh my God, why are you so worried about this Black woman today? This seems to have somewhat of an advantage over you, or they became more so inferior or something like that. I don't know what it is, but I said, why is this an issue today? Where I was going to the range 10 years ago and there were no issues, mm-hmm. Not with me. Mm-hmm. No one cared about what gun I had, what ammo I had, where I got it from, how well I was shooting my targets. Now you want to take my targets out further thinking I'm not going to get it? Like you want to test me, mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff it's pissing me off for real.
Yeah.
You know, just in that arena alone. So again, I say it's hard because you try to keep your composure. I'm very professional at all times. I'm trying to keep it cool. But with everything going on in the media and everything, I'm like, why you want to know about my stuff? You know, I should not be this angry Black woman.
Yeah, and I think
relax.
Anytime we push back, rightfully so, because being even when I first started in the industry I'm in now as a coach in the self-help industry, there weren't a lot of Black women in 2004 that I was aware of. So it was very white male dominated, especially in business coaching. So even when there were times where I know it was because of what I looked like that I was not included, because it wasn't the credentials, it wasn't the experience, it wasn't the price point. It was just who I know and I was even told by some of my kind colleagues who happened to not look like me that the exact reason why I wasn't selected or hired or got the contract was because I am Black and woman. And seeing that, but it made me angry. So even when I would rightfully so write a letter, because back then you wasn't emails like it is, write a letter to, it was, oh, she's angry, the angry Black woman. Right. No, I'm just trying to protect myself. I'm pushing into a world that I belong in. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I just don't want you to take anything away from me. So Dina, how are you handling, to the best of your ability, here we go again, being Black?
Well, as you can see, I'm very, very calm, very reserved at this moment. But I tell you what I am, and I'm sick of seeing our sons be victimized in manners that will not get them home. Yep. And it seems to me, I don't care, they can be doing everything that we have told them to do to the T, and they still have a chance of not making it back. Mm-hmm. And I am sick of that. I am sick of having to share story after story and example after example, and people still don't get it. I'm sick of that. Mm-hmm. I am sick of our folks saying, well, if we had just, come on now. I'm sick of that. I'm sick of that too.
Yeah.
I don't think that until these things, whatever it is, happens and comes to your doorstep, it just does not exist. You know, it just does not exist for some people.
And it's like we try to do preventive. Everything I do is preventive. Even my health, I'm trying to prevent having adverse health related issues, obesity related issues. Even what I do as a coach is more preventive. I say solutions, more so prevent situations than trying to be a problem solver that after it happens, you're going to put it out. And one thing I can say is, you know, even with the accusation, Dina said being sick, we are sick and tired. But the accusation of when we stand up, there's a old blues song called Stand Up, and I know that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about, but when we stand up in the rights of who we are perceived as angry Black women. And here, I'm here to say today, you ain't never seen us angry.
Oh no.
You ain't, if you think angry Black woman is a woman that pops off at the mouth, or a woman who just stands up in the royalty of who she is, a woman who is educated, a woman who is experienced, a woman who has gone through some things in life and has every right, a woman who pays taxes, a woman who gives to the community, a woman who raises children the right way, a woman who serves. And we do all these things by the grace of God and be upright citizens in our communities. And you think the pushback, people think the pushback, or even saying that I'm a Black woman is some type of thing that we should not do. Oh, baby, you ain't seen us angry yet. Correct. You know, and I'm like, okay, is it going to take a level of controlled and polished anger to upset some or upsot, like old people used to say, to upset some apple carts? Because I'm a very, like Dina said, I'm sitting here very controlled. She's much more controlled than I am right now. But at the same time, do you really want to see Black women be angry? Because here we go again, being Black. So Javon, what do you say? Because you use it very unfiltered. So I admire your composure.
I'm telling you, this is just, I'm with Dina. It has to come to an end. If it doesn't come to an end, I'm telling you, we're going to begin to see some things that we have said all our lives. If this ever happened to me, we would such and such. We will begin to see those such and suches come into play so much more often. I'm telling you, it just has not hit. No, I can't say that. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm just afraid for the wrong families to be affected by some things. Lord have mercy. Let it be some folks we know, some folks we've seen, and the whole entire families come back with no filters.
Dina's shaking her head. What?
As I was just sitting here, I was just thinking, I mean, it doesn't matter. We're in 3 different industries, right?
Yeah.
Same industry, same problems. So I'm in real estate. You know, we've been disenfranchised in real estate forever. Okay.
Yeah.
So I am just, in my mind, I'm going back to a recent conversation that I had with, now I don't manage properties, including my own, right? I put that in the hands of the experts. But one of the experts forgot who she was working for. She was working for me. I wasn't working for her, nor was she working for my tenants. She was working for me. But I had to remind her fiduciary, her loyalties, belong to me. And if she forgot that, then we probably need to take that up with the board of commission. That's probably who we needed. I had to filter myself because I was going to be the angry Black woman. In my own property. Okay? In my own property. I'm sick of that too. I'm just sick. Okay? I'm sick of that too. I'm sick of when I, like you said, stand up for what I know to be right. And I know you're who are you? Okay, my properties are usually rented by people who don't look like me. But you will not take my money and represent someone else. I'm sick of that. Okay, I'm just getting all of my sick ofs out of the way.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hop on that bandwagon real quick because I had a conversation with a white lady the other day. She's in the same arena as I'm in as far as the handguns and things like that. And she made a comment. We were having a really, really good discussion about just things going on and how people definitely have to change and so forth. And she made a comment. She said, "You just don't understand how afraid these police officers are." And I'm like, honey.
Wait a minute. They are afraid?
They are. I could not believe that. I said, wait a minute. I have 2 sons that on a daily basis, I have to tell them when you're driving in your car, if you're driving my car because I have a concealed weapons permit, you have to immediately respond so differently because not only do they know that you could possibly have a gun because of the tags that they're running, but because you're a Black male driving a nice car and it's not yours legally, if you drive in my car. So I have to go over what my sons have to do in my car and in their car. But you have to respond so differently from this white male, because I've seen a white male get out the car on the cop when, "Hey man, why'd you pull me over?"
And they walked away.
And they walked away without
He lived another day to tell the story.
But had that been my son, had my son not had his hand on the steering wheel, out the window, on the roof of the car, what would have been the results? So I'm like, you're saying that the officers are afraid? They really need to become like veterinarians or something and get out of that field, because that's not the field they're supposed to be in. Not saying they should not have some type of concern on their jobs, But if they're living in fear on these jobs with guns on their hips, tasers, and everything else, they don't need to be on that job.
This episode of Black Women's World Podcast is being brought to you in part by Tracymac Solutions for Life Institute Coaching and Training Services. If you're experiencing relationship challenges, be it personal or professional, leadership frustration, conflict fatigue, a need for change or a better sense of direction, or maybe transition uncertainty, Solutions for Life Institute is where self-discovery and peace of mind merge and thrive, creating strategic solutions. Self-discovery is the privilege of knowing who you are here to be and what you are here to do. By doing so, you get to enjoy maxing out your best life, navigate easier through challenging situations, and ultimately increasing your bottom line. Which is why we are sure that self-discovery is one of the best forms of self-care ever. On purpose, through mission, with passion and compassion. To find out more or schedule a consultation, go to solutionsforlifeinstitute.com. You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast.
Yeah, and I think sometimes, and with Javon, you having sons, and Dina with us having young daughters. I remember one night, Dina, matter of fact, we were together out at Anthony Hamilton and Eric Benet concert when we got a phone call from Jay that she had been pulled. And the relief was she was already on her way home after having been stopped, but she was totally upset. And she said, Daddy, I did it. She was talking to my husband. She said, I did everything you said. And she was just so distraught after it was over, just seeing the red lights and having to have the registration and her driver's license in the visor and her hands out of the window. Just so, I mean, young Black women. And some people think, this is new. Well, people other than Black people are well aware that this is not new. It's just more cameras in place. Which is where I think the fear and the embarrassment. Sometimes when you get embarrassed, you get angry that your drawers and your slip is showing. But it's been there. Because I remember distinctly, I didn't know I was Black until I was about 6 years old, until a little white friend of mine whose name was Becky. Literally, I've told the story before. You could ask my mom. Her name was Becky. Her dad said she could not come play in my house because I was Black. I had a cast on my hand at the time, and I said, "What's Black?" And she pointed at my hand and she said, "This." I said, "No, this is brown." That's all I knew. And I went in the house and I asked my mom if I was Black. But that wasn't a form of racism from Becky, but that was her daddy that wouldn't let her in my house because she was Black, and we lived on a military base. It was all kind of races and stuff. Lived next door to people who were from, who were Eskimos, people who were from India, people who were from different parts of the United States. So that was new to me. But it wasn't until high school until I had my real force situation with racism, where senior year in class, long story short, a boy called me the N-word. I let it go. Then one thing led to another, and then he threw an object at me and it hit me, and I lost consciousness. And I almost lost my scholarships and whatever, even though he threw the first lick. His dad happened to be high-ranking military, and my dad is small-town preacher. And they go head-to-head in the office, really saving my educational future because he started out with the N-word. So racism isn't new to us. We have just tolerated it and overcome. Tolerate and overcome. Share the stories among ourselves, and we just keep right back at it. Just to live another day. Just keep me going, God. Help me with this. But it happens all the time. And when you add the double what perceptive negative of Black and woman, then you really got something. But I think it's a positive. I think it's such a wonderful camouflage to be Black and woman. Dina, what you I see you halfway smirking all of a sudden.
I guess, but as you were talking about, that Sonny asked this question on those Nightline documentaries that come up that they were coming on in a series every
Yes. I can't think of the name of it.
week.
Yes.
But it was When Did You Know You Were Black? Well, I really don't know, but this part really stands out. I was in my 20s, and this was my first time. It may have been one, if it wasn't my first time, it was one of the first times that I had ever gone outside the country. My roommate and I decided we were going to Aruba. And the Caribbean islands, they're beautiful, full of beautiful people from all over the world, right? So I'm at this stand, and this young lady, she's a beautiful Black woman. And I remember, because, I told you I love all things beautiful. And she was a beautiful Black woman. And she says, "Oh, are you American?" And I was like, "Me? You talking to me?" And she was like, "Yeah. Are you from America?" And I was like, I'm Black." She was like, No. Are you from America?" And I said, "I'll be damned." That's the first time that I had been acknowledged or even saw myself as American and not Black. Because in America, you're Black. Not American, you're Black. But outside of America, to other people, you're just American.
Mm-hmm.
And that statement took me by such surprise. And I know she was thinking, "Is something wrong with you?" But it was not anything wrong with me. It's just how we grow up here in America. We grow up here in America as Black.
Yes. And Dina, the book
American.
Cast, and I haven't even finished reading it because it's such a heavy read. But the book Cast is dynamic. And one of the things they talked about is even how races were differentiated at Ellis Island. Everybody who looked white was considered as white. You weren't considered Jewish, Italian, or whatever on paper. Yes, by ethnicity, yes, by, socialization. But on paper, you either white or Black. And no Black people came in through Ellis Island. So everybody who came in through Ellis Island was considered white. And that whole thing, of how you are, like I said, even growing up in the military towns and military bases, there's still some differentiation that you feel. And even though that was my senior year in high school with that physical altercation I got into, there was some tones. You still hung together in certain clusters, but then that depends on the classes you took and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know what overwhelmed me that day, but it was a sense of anger, of him calling me the N-word twice, that just came blatantly, and the rest of the class laughed. They laughed, and I think God from heaven reached down and gave me some some ability to beat the brakes off that boy. I was definitely shorter than he was, definitely smaller than he was, but just something came out, and I think it was the realization of they don't care. And that turn, when you say you're around all this patriotism in military, life, but I'm not. I'm a North Carolina scholar too, but when you said that about, for the first time, feeling, oh, I'm an American, that I always wondered why I wasn't considered just an American, just if nothing but the fact of, the patriotism that's around the military and being that model citizen of doing everything to do right, going to school, paying your taxes. And still, Javon, what do you say? What was your Black? Because I know Portsmouth, the city of Portsmouth, is majority Black, and you went to a majority Black high school. And how outside of that did you come into Blackness, from a positive like Dina or negative experience like mine? Which was it?
Well, being from Portsmouth, we did have predominantly Black schools. I graduated from a predominantly Black high school, but I also participated in the governor's school for the arts, which I was the minority for sure. It was very hard to adapt to, even though half a day I'm at Norcom, my high school, and then the other half a day I'm at the governor's school. It was very hard because that was not my norm. we deal with it. You know, it was all about music. I was in a musical school, so it was all about music and being competitive and things like that. But at the end of the day, looking back, you know, I had a huge problem with being Black because I was not accepted. You know, I didn't do the things that they did. I didn't talk like they did. I didn't eat cheese and tomatoes for lunch. You know, and I'm just being 100. My friends ate cheese and tomatoes for lunch. And I'm like, you know, this is not what we do. You know, but there was a culture shock for me. But at the same time, they were some of the best people I met in my life. You know, some of the best friends I made in my life. But it was very hard. My culture was different from their culture. But at the same time, I saw it. Racism existed. You know, my father brushed it under the rug. I would tell him every single day the things that I was dealing with my teacher, with just not being treated fairly. And my dad was like, well, you just need to practice more. You know, you need to do this, you need to do that. And he came from an era where he was the only Black doing certain things, but it was never pushed like you fight for what's yours and so forth. But I've learned to just deal with it. Yeah. You know, just deal with it. And as we were talking this entire time, I'm thinking, here we are. You know, I'm wondering what back in the day, what were they saying during slavery? What were the women saying to each other on a panel like this at their time? You know, what were they saying to each other? Were they saying, you know, y'all be quiet now, don't say nothing, we almost out of here, you know, or were they saying, let's just keep on using our voice. Let's keep on doing what we have to do so that this won't exist 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, you know?
Yeah, I would like to think the Fannie Lou Hamers had anger. I would also like to think Harriet Tubman had an element of anger, but yet channeled appropriately. Because one thing you bring up are our foremothers who were enslaved and who went through such horrible atrocities of rape, and not only by white men, but by Black men as well. But you know what? Something comes to mind. They always laughed. They always found something, a bedrock of something in themselves that their joy wasn't taken. I'm not saying everybody, but as a whole, as Black women, we've gotten through things by sticking together. Mm-hmm. By supporting one another, by being able to laugh, by being able to sing, by being able to get over things that would have and did kill other people. And that's why I wear it as a crown, and I wear it as a queenly robe, my Blackness and my womanness, because women have come before me that dealt with stuff worse, that gives me less tolerance to continue to deal with it. And I'm sure that maybe they were even perceived as the angry Black woman, but they channeled it in a way that allows us to stand on their shoulders. So I'm like, how can we take the events of today's news, because their sons were lynched, their children were sold away from them, they went through some terrible, unmentionable things, and they still were able to overcome. They were still able to give us a leg up. So that's my whole solution-oriented mind, is in our standing up and being proud and Black, not just in word, but how can we take those things that piss us off, that we don't have any more dams to give about a lot of things, and channel and funnel them into positive. Dina.
I wish I knew. I was sitting here trying to come up with something real good and positive to say as you were going through that spiel. I just let out everything that I was sick of today. But one thing I am not sick of, I am not sick of this community, because it gives me so much life.
Yes.
It's given me so much life. I mean, over the pandemic, when we were, you know, when this reckoning, I don't even know what number of reckoning this was, but when it happened, I found so much refuge in our community. And I am so grateful. Even when I'm discouraged, you always find a way to encourage. And for that, I will forever be grateful. I am nowhere totally not ashamed of who I am.
Yeah.
what I am, what I have become, what I am becoming, and who I'm doing it for. I am so proud of each and every sister Nista that I meet that is doing a damn thing. So many have found their voice during this time, and out of controversy comes a lot of things, and you make a lot of choices. And there have been many who have chose to use their voices to be these dynamic figures in the world, and to them I am so grateful and so proud. So keep on doing what it is that you're doing.
That's
um,
right.
and we're going to continue to pray, because a lot of this stuff, it is not our problem.
That's right.
It is not our problem, and it is not ours to solve. Now
Mm-hmm.
we can be here, um, and you can talk things, bounce things, but it is not our problem. And as soon as we figure that part out, it's not our problem. It's the people who have the problem. That's their problem.
That's
That's right.
right. Well,
That's
you
right.
said you couldn't think of nothing, but dang on, you turned around and said a whole lot of good something.
And gave a really, really good solution. You didn't have a solution, but praying, praying for peace, praying for wisdom, praying for patience, and how to utilize that wisdom in the time of any kind of event that may just seem to go left. So that was a great solution, Dina. Thank you. I
Yeah,
need
I mean, it really was, for you to even the silver lining through the pandemic. We some of us found our voice or another voice,
that.
getting through together, the sense of community. These are some tools. You're giving out some nuggets as to what we can do, as Black women, have a greater sense of community and own our brilliance. Javon, what's some of the things you think we can do to get through? Not just to bring the topic up, but like Dina had what's some things that you do at least?
Um,
And you said pray.
Yeah, I agree with Dina as far as the praying and really believing in your prayer and believing that you can definitely utilize those tools of wisdom and patience and peace and all of those things. But staying busy and staying positively busy. Not just doing something just to be doing it, but doing something with purpose behind it. Making sure that you're being effective in your community. Even if it's just picking up trash off the ground, in your yard or in your neighbor's yard. That's being effective, helping to beautify your community, helping to show that, no, we don't all live this way or we don't all do things this way. Being
Yeah,
effective,
yeah,
making
I
a
agree.
difference, not just talking about it.
It's the little things. It's the little things. When I so agree with both, I love y'all. I so agree with what both of you all said, because in my area of solution is you have to know who you are.
There you go.
There's no way you can even be satisfied with your own life, regardless of what the powers that be or folks of a particular race. And here's the thing, I don't know why certain folks of a particular race get angry whenever you bring up racism, unless, a hit dog or holler. But I will say, when you're purposeful in knowing who you are here to be, nobody can take that away from you, even if it comes in the form of Black and woman. Those two things that so many people seem negative. But when you know who you are and can stand in that, and then when you know why you are here, I'm telling you, self-discovery answers so much, because then you get to pick and choose who you work with, who you work for. And I don't mean like you can just all of a sudden just come up with some job. Yeah, you got to do some things, but you still are on a clearer path about your life. And even though we do get angry, even the Bible says, be angry, but sin not. So I don't mind if you call me an angry Black woman, because if I get angry about something that makes my heart ache, I am going to do something about it with all that's within me and by any means necessary. So my solution to this is knowing who you are as a Black woman, as a Sister Nista, or if you're a Sister Nista lover, knowing who you are here to be, that's half the battle to destroy ignorance. Because even if some of these people who feel entitled, that's based on fear and greed, because they're afraid somebody's going to take something away from them. They're afraid somebody's gonna reciprocity their hind parts. You reap what you sow. But as Black women, unapologetically, know who you're here to be. Know what you're here to do. That's half of the solution, because when you get on your mission, it's gonna help Black folks. It's gonna help anybody in the world that would honor you as being able to provide that solution. So I think self-discovery still remains. I know that there are casualties of this thing, but don't allow being angry that's channeled positive to make you angry with yourself, to make you serve yourself less, to make you put yourself last. Javon and I and Dina talked about that earlier. That's one thing that I've learned from Dina is to put yourself in a position that other people won't put you last, and you like it. And I thank you for that, Dina. You talk about the positive things you get from me. That's one of the things I've learned from you is I don't have to jockey for position with myself. It's not me only, but it has to be me first. And Javon, I get from you as that strong Black woman that has not allowed anything in her life to hold her back or allow anything to turn her into a negative Nancy. I mean, you are still one of the most positive people I know in your Black and your woman. And I appreciate that. I really do. It means a lot. So I wanted to offer hope to those of us who, here we go again, just being Black. I say, here we go again, just being Black. Y'all have any words to our Sister Nistas and Sister Nista lovers before we wrap up our wonderful Black Women's World podcast, the BWWP?
Feel good in your Blackness and being a woman. Period.
Y'all Black women just turned my frown upside down. Thank you.
Yes, because through it all, the song says, through it all, I've learned to trust in Jesus. I learned to trust in God. And I'm telling you, I have learned to trust in God. Prayer has legs, hands, feet. So we don't just pray and do nothing. We pray for direction and ways to implement in a community to help support us. And I hope that the Black Women's World podcast continues to be that to everyone looking and listening, and especially to my dynamic co-host, Javon Cookie Jones and Dina Hamilton. I'm Tracymac. Much love and peace.
You've been listening to Black Women's World Podcast, the BWWP, brought to you in part by Tracymac Solutions for Life Institute, coaching and training services. No doubt you have enjoyed being in our world, and it doesn't have to stop here. Head on over to blackwomensworld.com. This is my personal invitation to you to stay connected with me on social media and more. I'd love to see you there, and I'm so grateful you came to be with me here. Invite someone else to join you in our queendom next time so they can feel the vibe of our tribe of Sister Nistas and Sister Nista lovers too. Remember to be kind, be authentic, be generous, be excellent, be grateful, and while you're at it, go ahead and be extraordinary, because that's just what Sister Nistas do, on purpose through mission with passion and compassion. It's a Black woman's world, baby, and you, my Sister Nista, are proof. I'm your self-discovery companion, your professional peacemaker, and your host, Tracymac. Wherever you are in the world, may you love and be loved by somebody. Peace.